Hey, good morning, everybody. We all know it's Wednesday, so I don't need to tell you that. It's actually a really good and interesting day, and like a lot of things are shifting right now. And I'm talking about I'm noticing friends of mine and people I talk to that there's like these major shifts happening, and including me. And if you're one of those people, just know that partially these shifts are because of Mercury retrograde. We just went through the solar eclipse last week, and just a lot of changes in general happening, and it will definitely bring up a lot of grief and anxiety. And the good news is that as you progress on your healing journey, you find ways, you learn, however you do it, because we all do it differently, but you find ways to relieve that. And things begin to change in your life, and that's what's happening with me. And I love connecting with you guys more and more. The reason it hasn't been a lot is because I'm actually cocooning myself anyway. So I'm going through my own. So I feel like this cocooning. Well, I have a trip planned leaving Saturday, and I feel like this cocooning is going to start an even bigger shift. So I don't know what that looks like. What I do know is that whatever it is that you're going through probably feels not great. Could be worse than not great. And there's so many different ways of getting out of this. I mean, I'll share a little something. When I first experienced the situation I went through with my children, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a dark night of the soul, but that's generally what happens with me every so often. It hasn't happened in a long time, because I guess because of the healing process. But I just remember that, I deeply, for those of you who are going through parental alienation, or alienation, I like to call it that, over what's the other, bond obstruction. For those of you who are going through that, you'll totally get this. And if you don't, then you may have experienced it through friends or yourself or whatever. But with alienation, your children are basically brainwashed, I guess is a good word. They're told things that aren't true, because the custodial parent is pretty angry at the alienated parent. I'm going to use that because that's the words that is used in that realm. So when that happens, then the way I've always described it is that they're either lied to or not told the whole truth about who you are. And 9 times out of 10, what I've noticed is that a lot of the alienated parents in a full out situation like that are more than likely more mentally healthy than the person that is alienating. And that person alienating, and I've got to be honest with you, they've gone through just as much trauma as we have. But when we're going through it, when we're in it, we're in grief, we're in anxiety, we're in all that pain, we can't recognize that. And so anyway, my story goes back to when my children were taken out of the house because I had gone through this. I was not eating. I didn't know what was going on. I dropped, 35 pounds. I went from 135 to 107 or something. And one day I got out of the shower and I saw my rib cage, and I'm like, oh shit, something's wrong. And I got to do something about it. And this happened to be about a week before the second part of this happened. And so I ended up going to the doctor, and I'm not one to take medications. I don't like doing that. I don't, I know that, I knew that I would be off of them within 6 months. I said that to myself because it was Paxil, I think, but it wasn't the XR version, which is the extended release. And when I got back, when I went to the appointment, the guy was like, oh, we'll take a bunch of tests and, blah, 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 blah. And I said, I know what's wrong with me. I said, I just need some help getting through it. I told him, I gave him a little bit of the story. I told him, everything that was going on, that I was having issues with my husband at the time. And he looks at me and he goes, you're depressed. And I said, yeah. So that was interesting. However, when I started taking that medication, I felt like I was in this fishbowl. It had this fishbowl effect, and it just hit like right now. I'm very sensitive to medications. So, and then the side effect was not eating. So I was already not eating. So then I got weaker. And one day, I crawled into bed. This was when my kids and my former husband were still there. And I crawled in the bed, and I was so weak I couldn't do anything. And it was partially, obviously, from the medication. I was just in the first 2 weeks of taking it. And so what I was experiencing, like, I literally felt like I was floating in that fishbowl that I felt like I was looking out of, And then one day, within the next couple of days, my former husband took the kids and took them down to my family's house. And that day, I completely lost it, even with the medication, So I'm in the basement, I'm looking at pictures, I'm thinking about everything that happened, I don't know what's happening. My own trauma just kicked in, not just from that, but from my childhood. And I was like, I'm losing my children. And so I'm laying there, and I just started crying, and I cried and cried. I cried so hard. It's like I couldn't even, between the side effect of the medication making me feel like I was swimming in the fishbowl, and the fact that all this was happening all at once. This is what I call the dark night of the soul. I just fell into this, and I was crying and screaming and, going through this so hard. And when I got done, I can't really express at this point how deeply painful that felt, because I don't really feel that anymore, which I'm grateful for. But while I was going through it, I was lost. I was alone in this house that we had just purchased, and, whatever. I lost it. And I didn't even know how to grieve at that point, because I didn't know what that meant. I just knew that everything was falling apart around me. And so after I got done crying, I was laying there breathing really hard. I was like, and that's really what I've discovered from that type of thing, is when we cry that hard and we generate that energy to get it out. When you're exhausted, your body shifts. There's a shift that happens, which I can't explain because I'm not a scientist or a medical person or whatever. I'm just explaining it from my own perspective. But the shift that happened was like, okay, then I knew exactly what to do next. But going through that was so powerful and so helpful to me to start. That's where I really started this journey. I actually had started it at 27. So this was somewhere at around 38, I think. But this part of it was like more powerful than anything that I've really ever done. And since then, going through these episodes of grief and working through them, and I can't even begin to tell you how life-affirming and life-changing these things are when you do this. And believe me, I was like always full out of anxiety, and like waiting for the other shoe to drop, and what is that, hypervigilance, all the time waiting for someone to do the same thing to me again. You know, there's so many reactions or responses to grief and to trauma, and it's really not something that you can fix like that. You know, I wish that was the case, but the difference between where I'm at right now and where I was back then is like a complete 180 degree shift. I would never in my life consider standing in front of anybody talking about this, even 2 years ago, you know, because I was still really powerfully engulfed with all this grief and trauma. And I think the biggest thing that I recognize is that, you know, just making a decision, making the choice, being willing, definitely being courageous, because it takes a lot of courage to do this, and starting that journey no matter what level you're on. You don't compare yourself to anybody, you just do it on your own. As far as the level goes, you don't compare yourself, oh my God, she's like so far ahead, I'll never get there. You can't do that, because it's not gonna help. And so what I generally like to share is that, you know, from what I had some discussions with people one time trying to figure out how to name things, you know, groups or whatever, and it was like from trauma to triumph. You know, there is a triumph in breaking free of those anxieties and fears and all that stuff that hold us back. And it works. I don't know, you know, there's so many different things, and you can pick one. That's what I did. I used to start reading, and I'd pick one thing, and I'd run it until it stopped working for me, and then I'd go find something else and run it until it stopped working for me. And but it's so doable, and it changes your life. And, you know, now I'm headed out on a new part of my journey, and I feel tears coming to my eyes, but they're tears of joy, because it's just amazing to me, the shifts and the changes that have been happening, especially in the last couple of months since this new part of my journey happened. You know, I mean, I've been sharing my blog, and since April 5th, I mean, I basically left a life, you know, but that life didn't happen to be working anymore for me, or the person I was with, or the situation. Nothing was working. So I left it. And since then, I don't even recognize myself anymore. I don't get it, but it's okay. You know? So, being able to do that is so incredible. And, I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying it because I didn't know what it looked like until now, and I still have things to learn. You know, I always have things to learn. So I just want you to know that this is loud. Hold on a minute. I just want you to know that this is a best part, and I'm about to end, and I get the there he is. Anyway, I want you to know that you are not alone. You've never been alone. It may feel like it big time, but you are not alone. And there are ways to walk through this, and just making that decision and stepping in and doing it is the first step, you know, and then sticking with it. I mean, I used to have a shirt that said, be willing, be courageous, be free. And, you know, I guess that was my mantra, and I did that back in 2017, maybe 16, 17, probably 16. And wow, so whatever you need to do, if you need to ask me any questions, connect, whatever, I'm open. I haven't really come back with that the group thing, because I only had one response, and I'd like to get more if that's possible in order to start. I mean, at least 5 people to join in with that. So if that happens, if I can get 5 people who are willing to be a part of that, then we could create something, you know, and I could support you through at least this part of whatever it is you're going through, you know, because this stuff comes up. It never goes away. It's part of our life. We carry it. I said that in the message. We carry grief. So even when we heal it, we carry it. But we carry it to help other people and continue to help ourselves. So anyway, I hope that helps. There's a lot of really crazy energy in the air right now, and as long as you can stay centered in yourself, I highly recommend not watching the news, because that makes it worse, or watching or believing everything you read on Facebook, because that makes it worse, because I can feel it in myself when I accidentally skim over something. So focus on you, focus on your healing, and when you heal yourself, you are available. You are fully energetically available for the people in your life and others that you might want to be helping at some point. But lesson learned for me, got to focus on yourself first. So anyway, I hope you have a beautiful day, and as will I. And like I said, you know, if you want to make comments, whatever, connect below or reach out to me if you have something that needs attention, like in the moment right now, that I might be able to help with for a bit. Just let me know, because I know what it feels like. And anyway, all right. Hope you have a great day. Mwah. Love you. Bye-bye.